Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Life of Pi with me, your host, P. Young. And if you're new to this is a podcast where we cover movies and television. So, right now, we are currently in the midst of talking about HBO Max miniseries Tokyo Vice. And tonight, I am covering episode number 5 of 7, and this one is titled Everybody Pays. So, and also, I want to give a big thank you to everybody who's watching the videos online. I really appreciate that. I've been seeing the numbers, and they're slowly growing. And again, I much appreciate. I do see those, and keep it up. And much love to everybody out there. So, this is definitely our most intense episode up to date. A lot of stuff happens in this episode, like a lot of stuff. So, this one may be longer than 10-15 minutes, which I've been doing on here. So, stick with me. So, our opening scene is we're flashing back to Samantha in 1994 upon her arrival in Tokyo, well, in Japan. And we find out that she's there on a missions trip. She's a missionary trying to go around and spread the word of the Lord and everything. And they show her in her outfits very just plain Jane, flats, no makeup, hair's kind of a mess, but speaking excellent Japanese, and basically shows her trying to go through Japan, parts of Japan, trying to spread the word of God, Lord, whatever you want to call it, and basically doors getting slammed in her face. And then it flips over to Samantha showing up at Paulina's place. So as we know from last episode, if you haven't watched last episode, there's been a man that's been hired to track her down for money that she stole from someone. And now we find out in this scene that Samantha actually stole, I think she says it's 4 million yen, and I think she says it equals around 40 grand US in US dollars, is what they say in the show. So again, this is early 90s, the difference in everything is going to be way different than what it is now. I did look it up what it would be right now. It would actually be less, it'd be like 29,865. That's what I found. I don't know how accurate it is without going through and converting everything myself. So that's the numbers that I found, so we'll go with that. And so basically Samantha tells Paulina that she, has to figure out the situation she stole, and she can't, this guy's been hired to find her, and that basically she can be extradited with one phone call from this guy since she stole, and she extradited back to the United States and charged with crimes, and she'd never be allowed to return to Japan. And basically she talks about how she loves her life in Japan, and she loves what she's built, and she's worked very hard for it, which you can see she has. But she did steal money to get that life started. But again, it's different. Things are different in the 90s. So our next scene, we flip over. Jake gets woken up from a phone call from his mom, and she's yelling at him about like how many phone calls do I gotta make before you call me back. And that, his sister's not doing well. As we know, a couple episodes ago, we find out that Jake's sister is actually very, I think they said she's suicidal, and of course he's getting, and again, as we know from previous episodes, she is sending him audio messages all happy and fun and everything's great, and apparently what's going on at home is completely different. So Jake is just like, you don't know what you're talking about, Mom, she's fine, and everything, and then she tries to put the dad on the phone, and we find out there's a hint that there was some issues going on with his father. And then again, we don't really know what those are. And then we flip over to Jake and Miyamoto at a dojo, or a karate studio. I believe they're called dojos, I believe. And they're basically they do like a weird like sparring match back and forth for like a minute or two. Then basically Miyamoto tells him, just be careful who you trust when it comes to Katagiri, because he doesn't follow the rules. He kind of is a wild card. He does his own things. He works with the DQs, so be careful who you trust and get your information from. So of course, the very next scene, we cut to Jake meeting with Katagiri about information that he was asking about who the mole is inside of the Tozawa. And so we aren't told yet who it is, but he's given the information. And so Jake then goes to meet with Aishoda, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and gives him the information, and Katagiri tells him, you know, if he offers you a favor, do not take, because basically once you take a favor for them, you owe them a favor, and basically it's just an endless cycle and never stops. So of course Aishoda offers Jake a favor, he goes no, but Jake, he gets the best of him, and he basically asks for information about the loan company that's being, all the suicides that have been happening, people being driven to suicides, all them being funneled back to this loan department. And Aishoda basically tells me, he goes, don't look for the people who gave the loans, look for the people who didn't. And so our next scene flips over to Samantha going through old things, her old Japanese to English and her missionary stuff. So we kind of get a glimpse into her past, and then we get a really creepy looking family photo that you would think you would see from The Conjuring or something. Just a really spine chilling, creepy looking photo. So I don't even want to know what's going on with that. And so our next scene is Sato. So again, guys, in case you're new to this, there's a lot of different storylines coming together in this show, and they all intersect with each other. So this is kind of a complex show. It's you have to take notes. I take notes to do this, obviously, but there's a lot to keep track of. So if you this is one of the shows where you have to kind of pay attention so you don't miss something. Because the show's very detailed and it's very well done. So we flip over to Sato, who's a member of the Yakuza, and he's basically told to hire a new recruit who's basically a fuck up. So I guess over the way they made it look was that people come to the Yakuza and basically take care of this kid because he's kind of an idiot and straighten him out. And basically Sato goes, I was a lot like you. I didn't be a loser my whole life. And basically tells him, come here and we'll fix your life. And this kid, not knowing what he's getting into, he has no other options. He does it. So we flip over to sorry, lost my place there, guys. Yeah, so then we flip back over to Aishoda's talking to him about the business loan, Jake about the business loans. And again, he tells him, he kind of points him in the right direction. And Jake basically discovers that these certain loan companies are not giving out loans, and the people that they don't give the loans to, they funnel them to this other company with high interest rates and life insurance policies, and basically suck these people in to force them into severe debt and end up killing them. So they kind of pick and choose who their victims are depending on the situation, which is very sick and twisted. And he brings it to his boss, and his boss goes, chase this because there's something there. So Jake sets up a meeting with the head of his loan company, Mr. Sakuti. Sakutia? I can't pronounce it, so we'll keep winging it. And Jake basically, he's trying to get to the bottom of this, and he pulls out pictures of the suicide/murder victims who were forced into suicide. And the guy then kind of realizes that he's responsible for this. He didn't really know he was, but he now realizes he's responsible for this. And Sakuta ends up, basically Jake gets on the phone with his boss. He goes, he confessed to everything. He told me to come over to his house. We can scan all the documents, and this can be taken care of. And then we flip over to Sato, who's having a meeting with Aishoda. He's confronted by Kumei, and he's told basically, he's like, you lied to me again. You did not take care of Samantha. You didn't make her pay. You lied to me and you lied to Aishoda. And Aishoda wants you to pay. So he takes him upstairs, and there's a table outside with a white cloth and a knife. So basically he's being asked to cut off his fingers to be disciplined for him lying. And Aishoda's telling me, he goes, every man needs to take responsibilities for what he's done. And so he then in turn points the gun at Kumei and basically goes, how dare you? How dare you take what's mine and give it away? So basically we find out that Kumei is the mole from the Tozawa. he's been feeding him information that he's bribing cops to try and bring him down. And basically he's been feeding information and trying to make money on the side for Tozawa and feeding him information so they can make more money in dealing, like, and I'm thinking heroin is what they're talking about. And so basically, Ishoda basically says, you know what we do to traders, and the guy's like, what do you want me to do? He goes, this place is gonna become extinct. He goes, well, we do things a certain way here. And so he points the gun. He goes, and the guy, he tells him to jump. Kumei's like, no, I'm not gonna jump off the building. He goes, kill me yourself. Be a man, basically. He goes, I'm not gonna kill you. Sato is. And then Sato points the gun out, and before he can pull the trigger, Kumei goes, this life was never for you, little brother. And then Kumei just jumps off the building and kills himself. And you hear screaming. And basically Ishoda tells him, he goes, prove to me that you will be part of the Shikari. And so they go downstairs, and there's Kumei's body in the street, and Sato's walking away. And it's a really powerful scene. So I don't know, he's his little brother. I don't know if he's actually his little brother, because he talked about how he recruited him, so I don't think it's his actual brother, but I think he sees him as Kumei saw Sato as his little brother. So our next scene is Detective Katagiri, Ken Watanabe, fantastic actor, shows up and meets with Ishoda after inspecting Kumei's body. He tells me, the police are going to be here soon. I want to meet with you and make sure, we're going to go about doing this the right way. There's no war or anything like that. And so basically he goes, I understand how you guys do things. And so Katagiri, then we flip over at, oh no, sorry, skipped over part. Jake goes to Saguti's house to meet with him with one of his buddies from work, with a copy scanner thingy. And they hear music upstairs, and they go upstairs, and they find that he's killed himself. And basically he writes a letter confessing that all these murders are on him, the Yakuza has nothing to do with it. So basically, after I did kind of glance over the part, he met with Yosawa, and he basically tells him, he goes, you take care of Jake since he found you and he came to you. You need to clean up your mess. And so basically he's left with no other option but to kill himself and take the blame, to cover it up, to keep his family safe. And so while Jake's still there, the family shows up. It's really super sad scene, really, again, another powerful scene. So like I said, guys, super powerful episode, a lot going on. They really ramped it up this episode with everything that's going on. So then Katagiri shows up at Tozawa's home or office or whatever, and he meets with his head honcho guys, number one. But he tells him, he goes, there's not going to be a war. Kumei's dead. I already talked to Ishoda. And so this guy relays his information to Tozawa, and that Tozawa goes, so there's not going to be wars, no retaliation. The guy goes, no. He goes, Ishoda basically said no, and he goes, he's really weak. And so basically to me, the way I'm taking is that Tozawa won a war to basically have an excuse to knock off Ishoda and then Shikari and basically be the one and only Yakuza in Tokyo. That's the way I personally took it. So Katagiri meets with Jake about his story and about, he's getting kind of killed again. His boss is like, look, we're not chasing anymore. The guy's dead. He confessed everything. The accuser's off the hook. And of course, Jake is irate because, again, his story is basically being thrown to the wayside. And, rightfully so. And his boss, Miko basically saves him from getting his butt fired because he's freaking out. So we then flip back over. We got Samantha singing in the club. Beautiful voice, by the way. Again, the actors in this show that are American, that are doing all the Japanese, sounds super awesome. I don't know how accurate it is, but it sounds pretty good to me. So now we know that Jake has witnessed a suicide. Well, walked in on somebody who just committed suicide. Sato saw a suicide happen. They meet. They sit down together at the bar. They start talking about their day for 5-10 seconds. And then we flip around. We see you know, the mystery man who's been after Samantha. And so Samantha goes and sits with Jake. Jake is losing his damn mind at this point and like freaks out on Samantha. And Samantha basically goes, you know, if you want to talk as friends outside here, that's fine. She goes, but you can't bring your bullshit into my workplace. That's not okay. And then she gets the business card from the mystery man, the creepy dude, as I call him. And then Samantha and Sato go in the back. Sato tells him, you gotta pay me. Samantha pays him. And then they start making out randomly and leave together. So I don't understand how they even got from there to there, but whatever. Then Paulina comes over and sits with Jake and talks to him for a couple minutes, and then they end up, she goes, you know, come with me to my favorite place in Tokyo. And so they go to some place in Tokyo. They don't really say where they're going, and they talk for a couple minutes, and they're gone for a couple hours, and Jake tries to make a move, it gets shut down. She's like, I have a boyfriend. Like, no, like, it's not a good idea. And then we flip back over to, we see Sato and Samantha hooking up, I guess is the best way to keep it clean. And then they start talking about the death of Kumei for a couple minutes. And then we flip back over, next cutscene is Samantha showing up at the creepy dude's place. And basically, like, they have an exchange, she throws money at him and tells him, you know, he goes, what's this? And she goes, it's the money. He says, I don't want your money. He goes, I want something you refuse to sell. Basically, he's asking for sex to give him, for her to sleep with him. An unseen, like an unknown amount of times till he's satisfied. And she just tells him to F off. And he tells her, he goes, look, you're going to do what I say because you have no other option. He goes, I can have you extradited back to the U.S. within the week from one phone call. And so that makes you think, like, in that situation, what would you do as a person? I don't know. It's really gross to think about that because people do that. They try and extort people like that. It's disgusting. It's horrible. Yeah, and then, of course, my favorite scene in the entire episode's coming up. We flip back over to Sato. He's walking home. He gets home and walks in on basically, like, just a murder house, it looks like. He walks in and finds, you know, people of his crew, like, lying. They look dead to me. Bloody, beat to hell. There's blood every place. Stuff is destroyed. He finds some guy in the hallway, and he asks him, he goes, what are you here for? After that guy tells him to F off. So he hears shouting upstairs in the distance, and he pulls the knife out of the guy that he was stabbed and killed with and makes his way up the stairs. And then, like, this, like, 4.5, 5 minute, like, Jason Bourne fight scene happens. Sato is, like, getting his butt kicked a little bit, and he's kicking his butt back, then back and forth, back and forth. They're getting thrown down the stairways, thrown through hallways, through walls. Then he ends up stabbing and killing the guy. So it's the first person he's ever killed that we've seen on screen. And then, of course, there's one more assailant who's attacking Ashoda. And so basically, you know, Sato in his mind is probably thinking, this is my chance to prove my loyalty. And so he goes and attacks the guy. Again, another 2.5 minute scene of them going back and forth fighting. Ashoda is just like, he's down over the count, just like laying there because he's old. And he's probably in his 80s at this point. And basically Sato is winning, and then he starts getting his butt kicked, and the guy eventually gets on top of him and starts strangling him. And then the next shot you see, really awesome dramatic music that really builds the tension, gets the pulse pumping. So whoever's doing the music on this, shout out to you. The music is awesome in this show as well. Then we have Ashoda ends up actually stabbing the guy through the chest. It's a really cool shot because Sato's looking up at the guy. So he's like looking up and the camera shot's coming up. And then you see the knife just come through the guy's chest right at your face and blood and everything. And it was just freaking awesome. Awesome camera shot. Awesome scene. And so it ends with I showed and Sato laying on the floor, both covered in blood and exhausted. So, again, guys, super intense episode. There's 2 more left. I'm going to try and bang number 6 out later this week if I have time. Again, it's summertime, so I'm a little busy. But, super intense episode. A lot of stuff happening. So we're getting a bunch of answers in this episode. And then number 6, we get even more answers. Number 7, we get more answers and a lot of questions, actually. So, great episode. Again, I've watched a couple times now. The show's done really well. Can't say enough about it. It's one of my new favorite shows. Again, I'm really hoping that they do end up doing a 2nd season. But we'll see. 'Cause you never know with these shows nowadays. So, and that's all I got for you guys. Like I said, I talked last week, before I got through real quick. I did talk about last week how I'm having a couple guests on, so we'll be starting, I'm going to have a Stranger Things episode. We're going to do like a whole first half of season 4 recap. That's going to be coming up here in the next couple weeks. I'm going to be having right now it looks like I'm having 2 different guests on. One from LA, a buddy from LA and a buddy from Chicago. So one is a returning guest, one will be a first time guest. So hopefully we coordinate, get them both on together at the same time. If we do, it'll be a super awesome show because Stranger Things, as you guys know, it's an absolute phenomenon right now. The show is just freaking amazing. Season 4 has been absolutely insane, and I'm honestly really pumped to get on there and talk to these guys about it. And it will be probably a longer episode because there's so much to cover. Because I do want to get this out before July 1st, before the new season kicks in, the second half of season 4 kicks in. So again, be on the socials, be on the lookout for that. I will be keeping you guys updated. Again, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on the big 3. So again, be on the lookout for that. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Helps me out tremendously because again, I love doing this, you guys. And yeah, that's really all I got for you guys tonight. And hope you guys are enjoying watching these because I'm definitely enjoying doing them, and I'm gonna keep doing them. And as soon as we get the 4K camera up and running, the video quality is gonna get even better. So I'm looking forward to that. And the setup's gonna we're in the midst of changing the setup again here, just improving things, working on getting new mics, new setups, and everything. So stay with us. Things are slowly coming together is the best way to put it. So thank you guys again so much for watching. All my friends and family who've watched and liked and subscribed so far. And if you guys, if you want to, feel free to go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Feel free to do that. Reach out, comment. Very social guy. And also another quick announcement. Now that I'm rambling, we will be bringing back and finishing the Hitchcock Files here, and sometime in July, end of July, maybe sometime in August. So we're gonna line that back up. So we will be finishing that. So yeah, we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're gonna be talking about Top Gun Maverick. I'm having my buddy Cheeks on here. So me and him are gonna be talking about that one. We're both huge Top Gun fans. So be on the lookout. Lots of cool stuff coming down the pipe. And guys, you know what it is. As always, I hope you've enjoyed your slice of pie. Thank you.